The 90s were an interesting time for science fiction. A lot of big-name science fiction movies were coming out during that time to be really influential later. Things like Stargate, Aliens, Independence Day, Starship Troopers. In 1999, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace came out. And what a menace that was. Still, with all these big-name sci-fi movies floating around, you gotta wonder what would happen if you took all of them and just kind of mashed them together. Well, in the early 10s, you'd get something kind of close to Mass Effect. But in the late 90s, you'd get 2 heavily armed teenagers and a rocket-powered dog. This is Jet Force Gemini.
Jet Force Gemini was a game developed by Rare Studios, makers of other famous titles like the Banjo-Kazooie series, Conker's Bad Fur Day, and Perfect Dark. This game in particular was developed by the same guys that made Blast Corps. The developers of the game took inspiration from pretty much every sci-fi source available at the time. Star Trek, Stargate, Starship Troopers, Star Wars, and countless others. They also said they were inspired by other games mechanics like the attack and cover system of Quake and the exploration collectible systems of Mario 64 and Super Metroid. The lead developer on the project, Paul Mountain, said that we were inspired by all the good stuff we'd played and enjoyed playing. And after playing Jet Force Gemini, this was very easy to see. Hell, these guys threw in 2 different styles of racing minigames because they liked that kind of game so much. The game was also originally planned to be a more cute third-person shooter, with the protagonists being children. However, Nintendo stepped in and said, make them older. And it was so. Now, instead of playing as children blasting our way across the galaxy, we will be playing as teenagers/young adults. Look, it wasn't a bad decision by any means, but looking at these images side by side, it kinda just looks like they made them taller.
This was one of my favorite games as a kid. Honestly, it's probably one of my favorite games on the N64, period. That being said, nostalgia can blind people sometimes, so I'm gonna have to play it again to see how good it really was.
The game starts off with a triumphant display of epic music and fanfare. I'm not gonna lie, if there is one thing that I will never fault Rare for, it is their music. Seriously, if you could just put these tunes to anything, it's gonna be epic. One of the interesting things about this game is that the main menu changes based on the progress that you've made in the main game, and as far as I know, there is no way to change it back. So if you bought your copy used for whatever reason, like you wanted to make a game review and you don't have your copy anymore, there's a good chance that you'll miss out on that feature. Regardless, we now dive in. The game starts out with the humble Jet Force making their way across the galaxy, doing their jobs in the best way they know how. Lupus is wagging his tail, Vela is standing at a screen, and Juno is having a nice cup of joe. When suddenly... the crew shows disregard for good coffee and answers a distress call from Not Planet Indoor where the Not Ewoks live. Before they have much of a chance to respond, however, a Not Star Destroyer shows up and the crew is boarded. Juno stays behind and allows his team to escape before finally boarding his own vessel. And this is how the game's kicked off. You're forced to play as Juno as he searches for his team. As he lands on Not Indoor, aka Goldwood, he meets with Not Yoda, who gives you some backstory on the game's plot. An evil dictator named Mizar has attacked the peaceful tribals of Goldwood, and it's up to Jet Force Gemini to stop him. So you go into the next area, and there you meet the leader of the tribals, a creature who, while being cute in appearance, possesses deadly and unspeakable power. His name is Jeff. Jeff tells you about this great tragedy that is befalling his people and how his brother is also missing, which I'm sure won't be important later. He also shakes his weird walking stick at you and lets you see a vision of when the drones invaded Goldwood, including where Jeff had a drop pod crush him and he's somehow walking around just fine. Like, damn, Jeff. Also, let's go ahead and take a sidetrack here to note that every character you talk to in this game has the magical power to regurgitate rainbow stars to either show you something or give you an item. Maybe that's just something everybody can do in the future, but I'm not so sure I want to know where you're keeping that stuff.
You know, now that you mention it, I bet I could do that too if I tried. One sec.
Juno runs to the next area, and this is where the game officially starts. You get a briefing on the level mechanics from Microsoft Sam, and then you're off on your merry way.
Colored gems can be collected. These will increase your health. Crates contain ammunition. Across the level, you will find the tribals.
Well, this serves as a good time as any to talk about the controls in this game. And they're not very good.
The game is a third-person shooter, but sadly you can't aim your gun above chest height unless you enter a special targeting mode. When you're in this mode, the camera zooms in behind you and your character model goes transparent. This makes the game more akin to a first-person shooter. However, the controls are still not very precise, and overall the experience is clunky and awkward. Not to mention that you'll constantly be shifting between these two modes of running and gunning, since enemies will come at you on every axis. Even then, when you're in third-person view, your gun range only extends to a cone in front of the player. If a target is standing just outside of the cone, you're not going to hit them. I can't count the number of times the enemy would be right next to me, and I would miss every single shot because my character wouldn't fire 2 inches to the left. Finally, the game utilizes a lot of platforming with constant running, jumping, and crawling through spaces and compromising camera angles. But after about an hour or two of playing, the playstyles start to mesh together, your aim gets better, and you move along. The other thing in each level is that there are tribals to save. You saw these suckers at the beginning of the game, and Jeff mentioned them, but here they are. There's a set number of tribals in each level that you save by running into them. You can also kill the tribals if you accidentally shoot them, so it is a way of the game to encourage you not just to run around willy-nilly.
Jet Force Gemini encourages safe gun usage.
Beyond that, every level has the same objective. You run through, blasting drones left and right, while occasionally picking up new weapons and keys, which allow you to advance further into the stage and find your ship. From there, you hop to the next planet, and you start it all over again. Eventually, you'll find your other teammates that unlock their paths to play on as well. And while every character controls the same, all of them have unique special abilities which allow them to go places the others can't. Also, none of their powers really make any sense. For example, Juno can walk on lava. Why? I don't know. His dad was a volcano, or a lava lamp, or a rock, something like that. Vela can swim underwater, and the others can't. Because reasons. Might have to do with the fact that her hair is blue, and her brain is also blue. Finally, Lupus has rocket feet that allow him to hover for a short amount of time. Alright, I don't need a reason for this one, it's just awesome. Lupus was my favorite character as a kid, and this is a big reason why. In addition to having unique abilities, the paths for each character are also different in more subtle ways. Juno, being the supposed diplomatic one of the group, based on what it says in the manual, spends a lot of time talking to people and helping them out. This includes repairing a turncoat robot of Mizar's army, or helping a space hippie get his pants out of a zombie tree. Vela's levels are full of numerous enemies and mostly involve her blasting her way through every single one. Finally, Lupus, being the most mobile of the three, has more of a focus on platforming. You also recruit a fourth member of the Jet Force team by way of Juno. While on the planet of Tofrit, Juno meets a former minion of Mizar, a flying robot named Floyd. Floyd tells you how he turned on his masters after growing a conscience and took a bullet to save a tribal. I admire your chops, Floyd, good buddy, but there are much better ways to throw your life away than on these chumps. Trust me on this one. After you put Floyd back together, he joins your team and is available in every single mission, always flying over the player's shoulder. Floyd can't be hurt, but he does have two main functions. One, he detects when enemies are near, and two, he acts as a surrogate turret that a second player can't control.
As a kid, this was probably my favorite thing about Jet Force Gemini. I was the little brother in the family, so I usually had to play player 2. But now I could play with my older brother or older sister and be right there with them the entire time doing action. It was a really cool feature and I really liked it.
It really makes me wish more games would do things like this. The Sonic series is famous for it, but I can't think of many other games that have good couch co-op mechanics like this one. Floyd also allows the player to do Floyd missions, which are flight simulator-like minigames where the player, or second player, controls Floyd as he flies through a stage, blasting everything, collecting items, and trying to reach a goal. Some of these are plot relevant, but several are not. Back to the main story. Each character plays through 3 planets before fighting a boss at the end of the third one. The bosses in this game are notorious for being pretty difficult. In the rest of the game, it doesn't matter where you shoot an enemy, if you fill them with enough plasma, they go down. Bosses, naturally, are not as easy to kill. During boss fights, the player is locked into manual targeting mode, but with the ability to still jump. The only other directions you can move are left and right. If you treat this boss like any other enemy you faced, you'll probably do the logical thing and start blasting it with a tri-rocket launcher. And then you will die. See, the bosses can only be hurt on specific points of their body, and only in a certain order. You want to blow up the slug boss's wee little arms before he destroys his body? Nope, that's the wrong sequence. Furthermore, it seems you can only hurt these specific parts when the boss will let you. You'll hear a small beep sound that signifies you just acquired a target, and in that 2-second time frame, you're supposed to shoot it. Finally, there's no ammo or health pickups in any boss fight. What you go in with is what you've got. If you run out of ammo on the one gun that was working, you'd better figure out how to use a new one fast. If you run out of ammo on all guns, you're just going to have to roll over and die. While this is challenging, it also means that you have to make every single shot count, because if you don't, it means starting the entire fight over. But if you get past the boss fights for each character, you'll arrive at Mizar's Palace, the great Bug King's stronghold and meeting point established by the Jet Force team. Just like before, each character goes through their own stage. Vela swims through a flume, Lupus puts on night vision goggles and goes through a dark underground, and Juno falls down a hole. After finding their way to the inner sanctum, the player performs a Floyd mission to signal for a giant flying pyramid to land in the center of the area. Did I mention that this game took inspiration from Stargate? Coincidentally, each door in the pyramid has the symbol and color of each main character, allowing each of them to enter their own way where they proceed to be beamed up. And are surprisingly okay with this. You know, earlier in the game when you save Vela, she tells you guys you'll meet at Mizar's Palace. Was alien abduction via pyramid in that plan somewhere? But thankfully, when you get everyone to the pyramid, you're treated with a cutscene showing where they went. Juno is the first to arrive, where he's greeted by Mizar, the alleged main villain of the game. Mizar one-hit KOs Juno and walks away laughing, at which point Lupus and Vela show up, and the three run off together to go kick that giant bug's crusty ass. However, when they finally catch up to Mizar, the wimp decides to hide behind a wall of fire. At this point, Lupus decides he's had enough of Lakukarach's crap, so he flies over that wall, proceeds to blast Mizar in the face. It was surprisingly the easiest and shortest boss battle in the game. At this point, Jeff shows up, and wait, Jeff? Jeff, what the heck are you doing here? How did you get here, Jeff? Your people live in stone huts. Like, how do you get off your planet? How? Anyway, Jeff thanks you for kicking Mizar out of his solar system, but then tells you that Mizar has instead decided to destroy planet Earth due to Jet Force's interference. Mizar, being the world's biggest Michael Bay fan, hijacks an asteroid and starts to drive it straight at Earth for an extinction level event. He then tells you that your Jet Force ships won't be fast enough to catch the asteroid, but the tribals, you know, the characters that we established live in stone huts and have stick weapons, somehow do have ships that are fast enough. The only problem is that the ship is missing 12 parts and they have all been scattered to the wind. Jeff offers to help you with your search by giving you an armor upgrade and a complimentary jetpack. You jump into a pod and your team all get their respective upgrades. Juno gets a full face mask, Vela gets another version of previous skirt, and Lupus is turned into a tank. And all three charge off into the galaxy to begin their quest to save their homeworld.
So now you got your team back together, and everything's great, and everybody's got new armor, and everybody's got to go with new weapons. You're going to go visit all the planets that you couldn't go to before, and this should really just be the best part of the game, right? Right?
It's not. See, as part of the deal of getting all the ship parts, Jeff informs you that he's actually holding the last one. However, he refuses to cough it up unless you rescue all the tribals. Every single one. So did you miss a few in the first couple of levels? You gotta go back and get them. Were some of them just impossible to get without the jetpack, or you need to be using a different character? Go back and get them. Unlocked more stages? You just unlocked more tribals. This is, without a doubt, the most heavily criticized aspect of this game. If you weren't a 100% completionist before, you will be now, because you can't beat the game unless you get all 282 tribals and all 12 ship parts. And getting the tribals is a pain in the booty. Not only were some of them in completely weird hiding spots, all of them are just tall enough so their head is right in line with your guns. Walk into a room blasting bugs and forgot a tribal's in there, he's dead. Of course, other times it wasn't quite so accidental. Another thing is the entire premise is completely bonkers. You're telling me that our multicolored and strangely shaped ships are somehow not fast enough to catch this asteroid, but some ancient clunker built and managed by freaking teddy bears is. Heck, even if that is true, why do we have to chase down this asteroid to begin with? This is the future, right? Can we not just Skype Space Obama and tell him to go grab Bruce Willis and Aerosmith and okay, that's enough Armageddon references for today. But I'm just saying, is there a good enough reason why we can't just call Earth and tell them what's up?
Good evening.
Like, damn, Jeff! Getting the ship parts isn't so bad because it takes you to a bunch of new areas that you couldn't access before. Sure, you're still looking high and low for things, but there's an additional reward to going to these new zones other than just the ship part. You get to explore new areas, fight new enemies, get new weapons.
Look, it might seem like I'm harping too much on this, but this really did make up a big part of the last part of the game. And you know, in 1999, we didn't have YouTube walkthroughs, we didn't have game facts or anything like that. You had 3 options if you wanted to find everything in the game. Either you did it all yourself, where you comb high and low, looking everywhere for those stupid tribals. You wait for an official player's guide to come out, which back then had to be written and done by third parties, so sometimes it took up to 6 months. Or you could talk to that kid at the lunch table who claims that he knew where it was, and we all knew that kid was a liar. I was usually that kid.
Yet, if you somehow manage to collect all the tribals and nab all the spaceship parts, you're thrusted into the final stage of the game. Juno, Bela, Lupus, and Jeff load up into the ancient ship and blast off the asteroid. After crashing their plot coupon piece of crap, Lupus and Bela stay behind with Jeff to fix it while Juno goes off to scout. The last stage is pretty awesome, to be honest. I'm not sure it makes up for all the baloney you gotta deal with to get here, but it's still pretty cool. It really gives a sense of finality, with the toughest enemies in the game being here, an intense theme playing, and the Earth looming in the background the whole time to serve as a reminder of just what you're trying to save. Also, there's no tribals here. Eventually you fight your way to Mizar's Inner Sanctum and get ready for a showdown one last time. Vela and Lupus show up, but are both knocked out of the fight pretty quickly. At this point, Juno decides enough is enough, and he pulls out the big guns. And while that's certainly badass, Juno's gonna have a bad time because this is the longest and most frustrating boss in the entire game. The fight with Mizar is long. Like, 4 phases long. He starts each round by throwing a ton of meteorites at you and then taking to the air. At this point, he'll periodically turn his back to you and expose his weak point, which you only have about 2 seconds to shoot. With the way Mizar bobs up and down, and with the not-so-great aiming controls in this game, it is almost impossible to hit him with anything other than homing missiles. So I hope you brought a lot of those, because even those are gonna miss a lot. After turning his back a few times, Mizar will do a series of attacks in a completely random order. The guy has no AI pattern. Whatever he wants to use, he will use. Most of the attacks are very easy to avoid, but there's one attack that's the pinnacle reason to why this fight is so hard. The electric jump rope. It's electric! Mizar will occasionally, always, use an attack where he shoots electricity across the platform at varying speeds. In order to avoid the attack, you have to jump over it. If you stand in it, you'll lose pretty much 1/8 of your health instantly, and continue to lose health as long as you're in it. The worst part is, though, is that you neither know how fast the rope's going to come out, or where it's going to drop. But if you persevere, you'll eventually blast that bastard out of the sky, and suddenly the fight is a recreation from Mizar's palace. But this time, it's all different. The point of the fight is pure catharsis. The best thing to do here is to equip the tri-rocket launcher and just go nuts.
Blow off his metal hand! Take that electric jump rope! Blow off the other arm! Screw you, shockwaves! Blow up his head! Just blow up the head!
Sorry, I lost my cool there for a second. You ever just feel like get that kind of a rush when you like crush a cockroach or...
As Mizar's skull lands, the Jet Force team notices something strange about it. It opens up and... Wait. What? What? Who's it? Is that... What is that a tribal dressed like Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove? Mizar was a tribal? A tribal was the bad guy? So, you remember at the beginning of the game, way back at the beginning, when Jeff was offhandedly mentions his brother and how he was missing? This is his brother. This is Barry. It turns out Barry was jealous of Jeff's status and power and created Mizar and the drones as a means to get his revenge. Because that's what you should do when there's sibling rivalry. Don't become a doctor and make your mom proud. Become an evil mechanical tyrant and enslave your people. Juno speaks up and says the Federation will want to know about this. And hell yeah, they will. This SOB is going to hang for his crimes. Hang him. Hang him high, Juno. But Jeff stops him and says it's their business. And they'll take it back to Goldwood.
Excuse me? Your business? You think this is just your business? It's not the business of the billions of people that you threatened with your big rock. It's not about the business of all these people that you enslaved in your minds. It's just your business. Okay, look, you do something your parents don't like, you move away, you go live somewhere. That's your business. You take the last casserole at Aunt Edna's dinner party at Thanksgiving that nobody wants to go to. That's your business. You threaten my planet with genocide. That's no longer your business. That's everybody's business.
Damn you, Jeff. Seriously, you're the real villain of the story here, pal. I should have figured it out when you held my entire planet ransom for a spaceship. Anyway, Barry says there's a way to stop the asteroid if they take this pack of dynamite to its core. Unfortunately, nobody would be fast enough to do it. Except the little robot that could. Floyd volunteers to sacrifice himself in order to save Earth, and the game ends on one more Floyd mission. And honestly, I really like this. It might seem kind of anticlimactic from one point of view, since you just had that giant fight with Mizar, but you have to remember that it would have been hard for whoever was controlling Floyd to contribute to that fight. This was a way that the second player could still feel like they were saving the day, and I really appreciate that game design. As the asteroid goes boom, the team flies back to Earth for their reward for their heroic deeds. They then proceed to embarrass themselves in front of the entire congregation by failing at a high five. Fireworks go up and the day is saved.
Well, that's it. That's Jeff Force Gemini.
Okay, so that was it. Jet Force Gemini. Still one of my favorite games, but just because it was a favorite didn't mean it wasn't flawed. The music was amazing, the humor was clever and funny, the weapons and items were unique, but the gameplay itself was clunky and the last half of the game completely dragged. To this day, Jet Force Gemini is a game that I really wish could get the Wind Waker HD treatment. Really, if all they had done was make the Tribal Collection quest optional, this would have been one beast of a game. But sadly, no remake is probably ever going to happen. However, there was a deal with Rare Games announced for the Xbox at E3 of 2015. And Jet Force Gemini is one of the games being released. And I'll definitely be playing it to see if they fix the controls. But I'm not optimistic about much else. Most likely it's just going to be a port to the Xbox One.
Maybe someday the Jet Force team will be reunited and we'll get to go adventures with Juno, Vela, and Lupus again, but I highly doubt it. For what it was though, I have strong memories for it. And for anyone that has an interest in sci-fi action, I thoroughly recommend it still. Hey, thanks for watching. This is our first video, but it's not planned to be our last. If you liked what you saw, then please like, comment, or share. Or, if you want to find out when we have new videos, you should hit that subscribe button, and also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. I'm told that's what the button does, but it might also distribute ice cream or something. Do you want to be the person that didn't get ice cream? Something to think on. Also, I have a blog here where I put additional thoughts that didn't fit in the video. You know, if you actually want to read something.